Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Mentor Minutes podcast and YouTube video. I'm Jay.
And I'm Jared.
And today we have a special episode where we're interviewing the publisher Jordi Rodriguez of Two Tomatoes, who has come out with a new game called Oil Profiteer, which is a standalone sequel to Peak Oil. So welcome, Jordi.
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me.
Hey, welcome to the podcast. I know it's a big time difference because you're over in Spain and we're in the U.S. So I appreciate you taking time and or making time rather.
Absolutely.
No worries. A pleasure to be with you here, with you guys here. Sorry.
So Jordi, tell us a little bit about Peak Oil, the original game, and then what made you decide to do not an expansion, but actually a standalone sequel to the game.
Yeah. So. Well, to give a bit of context, I had met with the designers of Peak Oil. I think it was in Essen 2015, I think. Mm-hmm. And I originally met with one of them because I was interested in a prototype of his, but from another game. And we hadn't met previously. And we had a talk about that other prototype, and I told him I was starting the company at the time, and I told him like my interest, the type of games that I would like to publish with the company, and he said, okay, so just forget this one, the game that we actually met for me to look at, and said, I have this other one. This one you like it better, and it was Peak Oil. And then he introduced me to his friend, who is the other author. And since the beginning, we had a very good relationship. And since the beginning, it was very clear that we could work like in a very, like a very kind of natural way. Peak Oil, we launched it in 2 years later. So that would be 2017. And at least to this day, still the game that we've had more success in terms of backers and on Kickstarter. So we decided that we wanted to continue doing a line of games that had something in common with Peak Oil. On Peak Oil, the theme is obviously peak oil now, so oil is running out and the companies need to find a way to stay profitable. Then we did the expansion for Peak Oil, which was spillover. It was a very, very small expansion, just with some cards and stuff. Then we did another volume in the series, which was New Corp Order, which also has like a contemporary theme. And Heiko, one of the authors of Peak Oil, was doing the art, which I think it's also like something that is very clearly identifiable with the series. And then once we did the New Corp Order, they got back to me and they say, hey, Jordi, we have developed a new game based on Peak Oil. On Peak Oil, we have several actions that we can do. And one of the actions is to exploit the oil fields and then actually take the oil and refine it to turn it into money, no? And they said, look, the concept is doing a zoom in those two actions and see exactly what happens, with more detail, no, on those actions. And I said, look, yeah, this sounds really interesting. Let's have a look at it.
Did you happen to say you need to refine these actions a little bit?
Well, they did. The game is obviously a successor of Peak Oil because it shares the same theme, and it's a zoom of two of the actions of the previous game, but mechanically it doesn't really have anything to do with Peak Oil, because I would say that the only common point is that there's a lot of player interaction. That's a constant through the series of these games that I was telling you about. But whereas in Peak Oil, the main mechanics would be push your luck, set collection, and worker placement. In this one, the main mechanics are simultaneous action selection and then area control. So it's like kind of a different beast. But the only constant is the high player interaction, no? And obviously, well, the theme and stuff.
And the theme, I suppose. And did you say that Peak Oil, the original one, was also funded on Kickstarter, or was that just published straight out?
Yeah, we for all the titles in the series, so Peak Oil, Spillover, and Nuclear Border, and now Oil Profiteer, we've gone to Kickstarter, and the reason is that the games we acknowledge and we realize that they are niche. They are niche games. Why? Because the theme, all the games have contemporary themes, which is something that probably it's not like very, very wide, no? Right now, at least in board games. And also because of the artwork, Heiko does the artwork for all of those games. And I think that it's quite divisive. Like either you like it a lot or maybe you don't like it that much. No? So we need to reach a global audience since they are niche games.
So when did the Peak Oil Profiteer launch on Kickstarter? It should be going right now. When did it start?
It started yesterday. And let me see if we've funded or no.
15th, that's right.
Well, we're almost there. The funding goal was 10,000, and we're at 9,887 as we speak. So,
all right.
Okay, hang on.
Let's get 20 more backers.
Hang on for a second.
So,
that's really exciting.
we're happy. It's also very nice to see people returning, from the other campaigns. We have it's not a very big base of players, but they're quite loyal and they return on every campaign. So that's kind of cool.
Now, you said that you're reaching out with this Kickstarter especially for the global audience. Do you feel like that this is more of a global effort than Peak Oil was, or were they fairly similar?
No, I would say that it's more or less the same. Look, for these games, obviously by going through Kickstarter, the majority of the audience is from the US, and then from the UK, because on UK, well, there's a lot of oil industry, so there's a lot of interest about the theme. But then, weirdly enough, there's a lot of interest from Asia. Like we have a consistent number of backers from Japan, from Singapore, because oil industry is big on Singapore, and also from Thailand. And then the next country is Spain. So, in Spain, we don't really have a lot of oil industry, for example. So it's probably a theme that it's not like very, very natural, no, to the Spanish. So
now I've just a few questions, as from a publisher's perspective. So, at Two Tomatoes, you guys are you looking at very specific types of games that are a certain sort of weight or complexity, or are you just simply looking for unique designs? What's kind of your perspective when you go out and you pursue a new license, or you start talking to different designers?
So, well, we do licensing, as you were saying, because we're quite active in the licensing side of things, both for the Spanish-speaking markets, be it Spain or South America or Central America, but we also do French because we live like 50 kilometers from the border to France. So, and we, like, for example, my how do you say this? My brother-in-law is French, so we have a good relation with France, no? And we've got big licenses like Root. We do the Spanish Root, and we do the French and the Spanish Pax Pamir, for example. Oh, wow. So we have good licenses. But when we look for games that we develop and then we publish, like own brand, let's say, we have a bit of everything, because right now, for example, you can check if you're into very heavy Euro games, we're launching a game that is called Stressbotics, which is like really, really heavy Euro game. Like think of like Lacerda titles like on Mars and stuff, like that category of game.
Nice.
But we also we did with a Spanish crowdfunding platform. We funded last year a couple of games that are. So Stressbotics would be, the base game is like a 4.2 on BGG, and with expansion like a 4.6 out of 5.
Wow.
So, yeah,
that's extreme.
And these other games are like, I don't think that they even reach the 2. You know, they are like family games or games that you can play like with casual, like with your friends and stuff, right?
No, so those aren't English versions, though. Those are Spanish or French.
No, we do the games that we publish ourselves.
Yeah.
We usually do them in 4 languages. We do them in Spanish, in German, French, and English.
Okay.
And answering your question like more precisely, what we really look is that the game is. I know maybe it's a bit difficult to justify this, but that the game is unique in one way or another. In the case of the Peak Oil series, it's probably the theme. In the case of Stressbotics, well, it's like super heavy and stuff. Or in the case of these like lighter games that I was telling you, for example, one of them is about climbing a wall. You know, like a sport. I don't know how you call it, rock climbing.
Rock climbing.
And you actually play it with like a little structure that lets you play it vertically. So we just try to, since we're a small publisher, you know, we always need to have like something different, no?
So with Peak Oil Profiteer, for our listeners and viewers on the channel and the podcast, for those that are listening that haven't played or heard of Peak Oil Profiteer, can you go into a little bit about what the theme is and some general information about the game?
Yeah, so the game is playable from 1 to 5 players. It lasts around half an hour, more or less, and the complexity is under 3 out of 5. So I think currently it stands at 2.6, something like this. The theme is very simple. You work for an oil company, and the oil company has sent you to a country that has a lot of oil, and you have to take that oil, you know, and get it out of the country to make money. And at the end of the game, the player with most money wins. But it's not that easy, because besides you have the other players that are from rival companies and they're trying to do the same as you, but also this country is currently engulfed in a civil war with 3 different factions. And each faction has 3 different leaders. And you have to navigate. That's what I was saying before, that there's area control in the map because you want to access those oil fields. But there's another like area control, which is with the leaders, because each type of leader can give you a very, very strong effect in the game. But you have to be constantly like bribing them, and then another player is going to bribe them.
So it's like you need to acquire permission or land rights to be able to drill.
Exactly.
And if you lose, you know, sort of that influence with those leaders,
exactly.
then other players can kind of take over what you've already maybe started.
Yeah. So yeah, it's basically you have in the game there's only 5 different actions, and on each round we show a card that it's a card that is going to be available for that round onwards. And then simultaneously, the players choose their action for the round, and then we call the actions in order. We reveal them, and we play them. And basically, it's all like with this game we're treating some, let's say, more mature themes, because the game is we put it at 16 and up, not for the complexity, but because of the theme. Like you can sell weapons, you can bribe people, so but we always do it with a bit of like, let's say, dark humor, to make it a bit more palatable.
So with that, is there any like how about the artwork? Because sometimes with heavy themes you can get away with things with having some like different artwork that doesn't necessarily get too over the top. Do you feel like that the artwork helps with maintaining a lower age group that could probably play without the I guess the in-your-face adult content that you might face?
Well, for the whole series of Peak Oil, as I said, it's Heiko who does the art, and since the beginning we decided to go with a very minimalistic art style because we wanted it to be elegant. Since the themes that we usually touch on these games, they are a bit, let's say, more mature. We want to have it at least that it's very pleasant to the eye, and also like we have recurring characters that appear on several of the games, so to give them like a continuity, to me personally, the artwork is fantastic. Heiko has worked with a lot of big publishers, like he usually doing graphic design. Like, for example, he's done graphic design for Burgle Bros. I'm guessing, from Team Powers, or also for quite a lot of the games of Horrible Games, the Italian publisher. So, I mean, he has a lot of expertise in the field, but at the same time, we give him a lot of freedom because since he usually works with like very detailed instructions from those publishers. In the end, Heiko now he's like one of our friends, so we give him a bit more leeway so that he can like express himself a bit better through the artwork.
Yeah. You mentioned 1 to 5 players, and I think it's interesting where you described it as a simultaneous selection game, but yet you have a solo mode. So how are you sort of handling the solo mode along with the simultaneous selection mechanism?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question because we had to think a lot about this. One of the things that people were demanding from Peak Oil, the original game, was to have a solo mode. And we worked, and we were not satisfied with any of the solutions that we could come up with. We're working still on that, but that's another story. For Oil Profiteer, what we've done is that so each player has like a mini deck of 5 cards with 5 actions, right? And they are the same for each player. But what we've done is that we've made like an automa player that it's put in the lower part of the cards. So in fact, there's not just one automa player, there's 5 of them. So anytime that you play a game, one of the decks that is not used, because there's no player using that, you can actually use that as an automa player. And they have varying degrees of difficulty. So I think that the green player is like the easiest one, and the purple one, I think it's the strongest one. So that's interesting because you can use it. You can even play yourself solo with 2 automa opponents, or even when you're playing with 2 players, you can add the third one, which will be the automa player. Or already, I think that when you play with 3 players, I mean, you can use it too if you want it, but I don't think it's necessary. But yeah, this is the solution. So the cards are revealed, and depending on the situation of the game, and the deck that you're using, so like the more difficult bots, they have more options. They are more likely to react to what you're doing, So we're quite satisfied. Like, this has been a bit of a of a long work, a long development, because we told the authors, "Look, guys, we really want to have a solo mode. For New Corp Order, we already have the solo mode, and for this one, we wanted." And I think that the solution that they've come up with is very elegant and it works.
That's really interesting. And so, do you recommend if you're playing solo to just do one-on-one with only one automa, or is there a specific number of automa players that you would recommend?
I would say that to start with the small, like the easy one, and then as you progress, you can add, as you see fit. If you're going to play against two automatic players, that's going to be quite hard for you. I think it's better when you are already confident with the game and you're proficient with it. I mean, the highest difficulty bot is very difficult. So I think it's already not bad.
So you'd say I'd have a better chance of winning against an actual person than the automa.
Yeah, well, to me, I haven't beaten the highest difficulty one yet. Yeah. But I also have to say that I'm not very, very big on solo games. So I'd rather always try and play. But yeah, I think that the solution that the authors have come up with is very good. Yeah.
Very cool.
Now, as far as Kickstarter goes, I've seen a lot of publishers that are now just selling the game outright, and then they might do, rather than stretch goals, they might do like an unlock, every week or something like that. How are you guys planning to run the Kickstarter with regard to stretch goals or unlockables or those types of things?
Yeah. Well, that's a very good question, because I think that I would say that this is a question more of the game and not the publisher. I think that when you go to a crowdfunding or a pre-order, or when you're putting out the game out there, and there's interaction with the potential buyer, let's say, or backer, as you want to say it, it really depends on the game. Like to us, to give you another example, for the stretch botics, like the very heavy Euro game, we just do a pre-order because we don't want to have to come up with stretch goals. The game is already huge. And at the same time, we don't want to cut pieces and then say, okay, this is going to be a stretch goal, this is going to be a stretch goal. And, hopefully we will hit all those stretch goals to go back to what we had at the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For Peak Oil, what we do is that we have some things that in the process of development we've discarded, because we've said, look, this is cool, but you don't need it to have a proper experience, If we go to Kickstarter, maybe we'll put it out there, it's a nice extra, but it's not really like the base and soul of the game, And also what we do is, components and grade is always good. For this one, since the base game is just 30 euros or $30 odd. Mm-hmm. We wanted to keep it a production that was, according to the price too, quite minimal in a way. But we had some ideas custom dye, some custom pieces for the oil rigs and stuff. But we say, look, if we put this already in the game, since we're a small publisher and we are not going to do 10,000 copies, the impact on the cost per copy is quite high. Yeah. So that's a thing that we think, look, this is not necessary for the game, but if we can reach a certain amount of money, that's a cool thing to do.
So the way the game is now, is it mostly wooden components?
Yeah, the game, it comes already with what we try that all the games that we produce or that we publish ourselves, which are not licenses, as I was saying before, that they all have, at least from the get-go, one very nice component. And in this case are the bills. So the bills are very important in this game because that's the goal of the game, no? To get a lot of millions, no?
Yeah.
And we will have bills that from a very specific type of paper that was like a very, very, how do you say? It was a very specific demand of the authors. They have a very obscure game that has a very nice bills. I don't remember the name of the game, honestly. It's a very obscure one. They sent us one of the bills of the game, and they said, we want this quality. We're like, okay, we'll try and find it. So we've already talked with the prospective manufacturers that we want exactly that type of bill paper, no? Mm-hmm. And that's already from the get-go. And there's some cubes, some wooden cubes, some wooden cylinders, quite a few cards, and then the big board.
Yeah. So it is definitely using paper money, but it's a specific type of paper.
Yeah. Yeah, it had to be that paper. Otherwise, the authors are not pleased. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, we have a very good relationship, and the guys were like, "Oh, Jordi, this would be so awesome if you can get this type of paper." And I said, "Okay, we'll do it."
Yeah, there actually are some games that I've played that had just a really unique paper money that I actually liked.
Can you give an example?
One of them is called Counterfeiters. And counterfeiters, they're smaller bills, but the neat thing about the bills is because the game's about counterfeiting money, the quality of each of the bills is different. So as you get better and better quality counterfeit money, the ink is actually darker and looks more distinct.
That's interesting.
And because it has almost like a feel like a dollar bill here in the U.S., it's that kind of feel to it. It was actually, to me, a better material than trying to use coins or cards for money or plastic or cardboard tokens or those things.
It's funny that you say this game because they also mentioned this game.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
And I was trying to see if that was the game that they sent me the bill from, but it's not that game. But I'm sure that they mentioned this one as another good example.
Yeah. That's the one that just popped into my head. So that was a good one. Cool. Now, how long the Kickstarter is it gonna run? Like a 30-day Kickstarter, or are you doing a smaller amount of time?
Yeah, we do 21 days. So why? Because in the end, we are a very small company. It's just my friend and I who we're the two tomatoes, basically, because that's him and I. And for a small publisher like us, the Kickstarter is quite a lot of a stress, a lot of resources, and
if it gets too much, then you might have a harder time.
And also, we know that having done quite some of them already, that obviously you get the big peak at the beginning, then you have the valley that we call the valley of death sometimes, and then you have the second peak, right? So I think it was around the second Kickstarter campaign that we said, look, we're going to do 21 days, a bit like we try to strategically place it. And I think that with 21 days, it's enough to spread the word and see the people who might like it, they have the time to back it. And if not, for this one, we're going to do a pledge manager too. So, if people miss out on the Kickstarter, they can always join on the
pledges are an option.
Yeah.
Well, Jordi, is there anything else specifically that you want to mention about Peak Oil Profiteer before we let you go back to it, since it's so late your time?
Well, I don't know. I would say that I encourage everybody to have a look at it. It's certainly I don't know if I dare say unique game, but it's certainly different from what you see be it on Kickstarter or on the shelves of the shops.
Right.
So maybe if you're interested on a different theme, a different style of artwork, that's something that could be good for you. And also, to be fair and honest, like if you don't like direct interaction in your games, then Oil Profiteer is not the game for you.
That's interesting because I do have some friends that are very specific, that they only want games that have that player interaction. Like they want a lot of that. If they're going to play a Euro, like they want it to have some player interaction.
It's true.
So I think this could be a really good opportunity to slide that into those sorts of gamers that appreciate the heaviness and but yet want to be able to play with others at the table and not just
For us, that's usually all the games that we do, like published by ourselves. I don't think that we have any title that doesn't have direct player interaction. It's not that we don't enjoy indirect interaction, but to me at least, and my business partner Alvaro, if we sit down to a table, we want to have a bit of connection. That's why we sit together, we play together. Okay, maybe this move is going to harm your game, but then you're going to come back at me, and it's just a game. We have fun, we laugh, and that's
and I see the benefits of both ways. Like I can also see the side of saying like, well, I just like being able to like show that I can build a system better than you, but at the same time, I totally get wanting to just, you're getting together with friends, you might as well play a game that you can actually do together in some way where you're affecting each other's play and that
and
stuff.
Especially with a short play time, I think that's less problematic too.
Oh, of course.
So.
Well, I'm looking forward to taking a look at this game and hopefully getting my hands on it. It sounds like it's about to fun, so this is definitely exciting. Good time to back it. And if you're listening now and haven't looked at it yet, you want to head out to the Kickstarter right now because, as you heard, it's only 21 days and it started yesterday. As of filming, that it's the 15th that it opened. So
check. You don't have much time left.
You're running out of time already.
Go today. Tell your friends.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Jordi. And this has been great.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, and thank you for staying up late to meet with us tonight.
No worries. Thanks a lot for having me, guys.
Well, with the Mentor Minutes, I've been Jared.
And I've been Jay.
And we've been talking with Jordi. So
all right.
We'll see you guys later.
Catch you next time.
Bye-bye.